So guys, how are you? What if Naruto was manipulated by Ino movie? Like water, it will always find a way around obstacles and, given enough time, will even be able to destroy the most powerful of structures. Like fire, it is wild and easily will escape control and damage the surrounding. It is a free spirit and cannot be controlled, but only guided. Like lightning, it is fast and deadly, able to strike at an enemy before they even know what happened, without being seen or leaving a trace. Like earth, it can stand up to any opponent and take constant barrages and will sometimes go so far as to reverse the damage, albeit in a different way. Yet the wind is the base, as water would freeze solid and be unable to move without heat that is taken away with the vacuum-like effect of air. Fire would die out with no oxygen as fuel. Lightning would dissipate as the air is used for static. Earth can be destroyed by either being torn to shreds by a tornado, or just by pure force like that of a hurricane. Wind is known as the key to life, while the other elements are the doors. Ooh, it was a lovely day outside. All the people were busy. The ninja were helping out around the village. Even Tora the demon cat could not be seen around the village. It was truly a peaceful day in the village of Konoha. Credit for this paragraph not mine. Okay, maybe not so peaceful after all. At the middle of the village stood the Hokage Tower, where scores of Anbu could be seen rushing back and forth. Hokage-sama. Hokage-sama. It's Naruto. He pulled another prank. The entire Anbu headquarters is covered with paint, shouted one of the men. Inside the office sat an old man by the name of Hiruzen Sarutobi, also known as the professor of Konoha and the Sandaime Hokage. Sighing, he asked, "He is but an 8-year-old and he was still able to avoid all the Anbu? Are you telling me that a new academy recruit is better than the top ninja of the village?" Twitching, the Anbu responded, "We both know that the only reason why the council even allowed the kid into the academy was because of his skill and proficiency at this, that and Danzo, but he's another story." Putting a finger to his mouth, Hiruzen said, "You should talk about that. After all, the walls have ears. Kakashi, do me a favor and go catch him, and try to make sure that nobody will try to harm Naruto. Though the Anbu are loyal to me in the village, they might think they are doing the village a favor by killing him." Eyes widening at the thought, though no one could tell behind his dog mask, Kakashi answered, "Hi Hokage-sama," before vanishing with a swirl of wind and leaves. "Ooh ha 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 ha, suckers. You can't catch me. I am the prankster king of Konoha," yelled a blonde boy dressed in an orange jumpsuit with the jacket off tied at his waist, revealing a black muscle shirt underneath showing his fine-toned, yet slightly malnourished body. He had 2 cobalt blue eyes with 6 marks on his cheeks resembling whiskers along with golden blonde hair. The orange, black, yellow combination added to his whisker marks gave him a slight tiger-like image, which was well worn with the grace that he sped through in order to outrun and maneuver the ninja chasing him. The chase throughout the village continued as several cries of anger came as a dark orange blur sped past and bumping into people. Peculiarly, a few cries of cheering came as well to the ninja saying, "Go kill him. Yeah. Kill the demon." Giving no sign that he had heard them, the young blonde zoomed away and nearly outran the guards when one Anbu with a strange mask started to join the chase. Don't remember seeing him at the base before, thought Naruto, as the Anbu gained ground and Naruto got farther away from the village. His energy left him in a heap in a forest just outside of Konoha. Thinking he had lost the strange Anbu, Naruto sat up straight and concentrated on getting his breath back. Suddenly, a low whistle was heard before 7 shuriken all impaled themselves into Naruto. Wincing in pain, he removed the shuriken and leapt up before being brutally knocked to the ground by the Anbu. "Who the hell are you?" asked a, now frightened, blonde. Taking out his ninjado in a reverse grip, he answered, "I was sent by Danzo-sama to eliminate you, as you are now no longer obtainable to him and have become a threat to his plans under the Hokage's control." Closing his eyes, Naruto thought, "This is how I am going to die. This is pathetic, even for me." He waited, and waited, yet the blow never came. Opening his eyes, Naruto glanced up only to see the ninja holding his ninjado in the air, yet never coming down. Weird. It's almost as if he's frozen, thought Naruto. Getting up, Naruto was about to poke the ninja before a massive headache came and he promptly passed out. Ooh ugh, what the hell happened? Currently, our favorite blonde was hanging upside down from a tree by a branch that had caught on to his pant leg. Looking around, the Uzumaki was able to comprehend that it was evening and that all his kunai that he had found around training areas had fallen out of his pocket. There wasn't much he could do but try to get up and break the branch with his hands. About an hour later of constant grunts and groans, Naruto had nearly given up. Come on. Just a little farther. I can do this, thought Naruto before something happened that had Naruto falling in surprise, literally. While trying to grab the branch, Naruto had become desperate and was wishing that he had something long and sharp to cut the branch when there was a small distortion that had come from his hand and cut the branch, causing him to fall to a surprisingly soft landing. Curious as to what could have broke his fall, he turned only to see a sight that changed him. Though for better or worse, he would never know. He had landed on top of the dead body of the Anbu that had been chasing him. The body itself was slashed in multiple places while it looked like other parts were crushed due to extreme pressure. Grabbing his gut, he rolled off the dead body before puking several times before even going to dry heaving for another several minutes. Finally able to calm himself, he wiped his body and hands on the ground to get the blood off. Now clean, he picked himself up and walked home, hoping none of the people would see his clothes covered in blood and get the wrong idea. 2.5 hours later he was home and eating instant ramen when a thought came to his head. What was that thing that cut me down from the tree? All I did was imagine a blade and hay. I wonder what happens if I do that again? Holding his hand up, he imagined the distortion he saw from earlier only to see the same blade. Startled, he lost concentration and the blade exploded in a burst of air, blowing him off his seat. Air? Naruto asked himself, wondering why the blade burst into air. He came to the conclusion that the blade itself was condensed air thinned into a blade as sharp as the one he pictured. Suddenly, a foxy, couldn't help myself grin appeared on his face as he came to another conclusion. Let's see, if I imagine a blade and it appears, then what if, pointing his hand at one of his empty ramen cuts, it imploded on itself due to Naruto sucking all air away from the center. The blonde stared wide-eyed at the cup before bursting into laughter. Holy shit. This is sweet. I've got to show every pausing in his words. Naruto thought about a phrase that had stuck into his head from listening at the academy to one of his sensei. Remember, a shinobi's most powerful weapon is deception. Deciding that keeping his ability a secret, he was about to go to sleep dreaming about blowing stuff up when a voice sounded in his head. So, how do you like your ability kit? Startled, he yelped, looking around the room. Seeing no one, he called out, come out where I can see you. Hearing a chuckle, he spun around before hearing, I am inside your head, kit, or at least your soul. Anyways, I can hear you just fine if you would just direct your thoughts to me. What the hell's going on? What are you doing in my head? Forget that, how the hell did you get in my head? Asked the startled Naruto. Amused, the voice answered, ill humor you. I am the great chakra demon of legend known as the Kyuubi no Yuko or the Kyuubi no Kitsune. I am in your head due to an attack against me which ended up with me attacking the village. One thing led to another and next thing I know, your dad sealed you into me. About my question from earlier though, the reason why I asked is because of you having a near-death experience. My chakra leaked into you, and as I can control my elemental affinity with perfect control, your cells mutated so you can control yours as well, which is wind, though you have a slight water affinity. Really? Cool, thought Naruto. A thought struck him though and he asked, wait, did you say my dad sealed you into me? Kyuubi cursed himself for the slip-up before lying. No, anyways, you should probably be getting to sleep now, so good night. Naruto was about to stop him when he heard the sound of heavy snoring before cutting his connection and going to sleep. What's a Kyuubi? Okay class, today we're going to talk about jutsu. Wool yada. We're gonna learn jutsus. Shut up Yakuzi, I said we're going to learn about jutsu, not actually learning them. Said boy immediately piped down and sat down while the rest of the class burst into laughter. Pinching his nose, Iruka continued on with his explanation saying, okay, now that the gaki over there's quiet, let's continue. The first thing is to know their names. In the academy, the only jutsu you will ever learn are the clone technique, the transformation technique, and the replacement technique. This may suck to you guys, but anyone below genin level doesn't have very large chakra reserves. Would someone like to explain what each of these do? Glancing up, Iruka sighed as he spotted Naruto, Kiba and the ever-present Shikamaru sleeping with their arms folded around their heads, all sitting in the same row. Kiba wore a fur coat over a mesh metal shirt with black cargo pants. He had messy brown hair and matching eyes. Underneath said eyes were red triangles pointing down. Shikamaru had his hair tied back into a ponytail, but the end of it spiked outwards, making his head resemble a black pineapple. He wore a mesh metal shirt with a jacket over it and wore the standard black cargo pants. Naruto had golden blonde hair that spiked a bit, he had cobalt blue eyes, he had 3 birthmarks on each of his cheeks resembling whiskers that gave him a, as Hinata would say, wild and animalistic appearance. That though is a story for another time. He wore black, baggy shorts and a white t-shirt that had a red spiral on the back, with his eye twitching. He made a few hand seals before pointing at Naruto. Lightning release. Taser level 2. Immediately, an arc of lightning shot out and hit Naruto in the head, causing him to yelp in pain. Loud enough to wake up the other 2 sitting next to him. What the hell was that for sensei? Iruka just stared at the blonde thinking that was supposed to burn his hair off or at least make it stand up. What the hell is up with the kid? Meh. He probably built a resistance of some sort. Well, now that you guys are awake, would you like to explain the concept behind the 3 Academy Jutsu Shikamaru? Glancing up with a pinky in his ear, he shook his head no. Left eye in full twitch, Iruka turned to Sakura Haruno, a pink-headed girl with a wide forehead and green eyes. She wore a pink t-shirt and black shorts that had bandages wrapped around her left leg. How about you, Sakura? Would you like to explain it? Nodding, Sakura went into full lecture mode and said, the idea behind the clone jutsu is to be able to generate light with chakra. By generating light in a certain way that is made possible through hand seals, an image of the caster is made. Because it is made of chakra though, if an object were to pass through it and the caster doesn't have enough concentration, it will disperse or weaken greatly. The idea behind the transformation jutsu is almost the same, except it uses basic genjutsu to trick your brain into giving yourself the actual senses that whatever you transformed in to help you better control the form and that it is cast on the user. The idea behind the replacement jutsu is unknown, as the creator was a genius of his time to create a technique with low chakra consumption and near perfect results every time. By focusing on an object, you can switch places with it. The bigger the size difference and distance, the more chakra it takes, finished Sakura. Iruka gave her a nod, to which she sat down. Does anyone have any questions? Asked Iruka. Seeing no hands, he continued on with the next subject. While most people thought Naruto never paid attention during class, he was always alert. In fact, though he had the worst grades in the academy, it was all just for show, which was proven to how he could outrun and outmaneuver many Junin and Anbu during his pranks. This is also why we find him taking on his bed along with several books from the library that he checked out. Let's see. First is the clone jutsu. Well, that's not gonna help me much, so let's try the transformation first. According to Sakura, the technique uses chakra to generate light that covers up the body to change your appearance, said the frustrated blonde. In his hands was a book that explained the properties of light. Light is one form of energy along with sound and heat. Lightning incorporates all 3. In a lightning bolt, the sound can deafen someone and the heat is usually released in an explosive manner, causing a shock wave that will incinerate anything it touches while combusting at the center. The light is only strong enough to blind. Light in itself can be modified for many uses. Hundreds of years ago, it is said that mankind was able to focus light into something known as a laser, which can be anything from a concentrated dot of light to a blade that is able to cut through most metals. Many theories came from this, like the lightsaber, which is intense light focused into a small area to give it a corporeal form. If possible, it would be able to cut through most anything. Another idea, ice cloaking or invisibility ability. The human perception is made of many senses. The eyes simply see all light that is in front of them. If you were able to bend light to certain parts of your body, you could do anything from changing the appearance of yourself to making yourself invisible. This particular theory was almost made possible with intense air movement. By moving the air around something, you could potentially drag the light along with it and move light. After this, though, no further information was found on the subject. The blonde sat on his bed staring at the book. I think I actually understood that. Holy cow, I could recreate the transformation jutsu with this. I won't even need to use chakra. Shoot, I could do the same with the clone jutsu. Though it'll probably be a lot harder without something solid to focus on. Kyuubi, do you hear me? Thought Naruto, inside his prison. Kyuubi held his ears down and said, Kami, damn it kid, you don't need to yell. I am literally less than an inch away from you. Naruto scratched the back of his head, embarrassed, as he responded, sorry. Anyways, can you see this? Could you help me do it? Kyuubi gave him a mental death stare before saying, really? You really think I can see anything? You're such a baka. The only way I'd be able to do anything is through a blood contract, since we have yet to make one. What the hell do you think? Wincing at the volume, he asked, so why don't we? Kyuubi stayed silent for the longest time before muttering, How about this? Since you're a ninja, you're gonna have to kill sooner or later, which is not something you'll want. It'll change your DNA a little bit so it won't affect you as much. Don't worry though, you're not gonna be bloodthirsty or anything. It'll even help you in creating whatever techniques you're working on. In return, I want to be able to experience everything through your senses and to be let out of this damn prison on a periodic basis. Naruto was about to agree before catching the last part. Only if you don't do anything without my knowing and you don't kill anybody without my permission. That and you tell me how I am supposed to do that without messing up the seal. Deal? Deal. So now what? Oh right. You just have to place some of your blood onto your seal, which is on your stomach. Okay. Upon hearing the instructions, Naruto cut his thumb on his abnormally sharp canines before wiping it on his seal. The blood started to steam before disappearing. The two talked for a while, fine-tuning the details. For the replacement technique, Naruto just decided to switch with air instead of an object. This, while taking more concentration, could use 75% less chakra on an already low consumption technique. That and you could theoretically teleport with nothing but a puff of smoke. Not even that if you decide to fine-tune the skill so you don't create smoke. Ooh, what the hell's a summoning contract? Asked Naruto. He was currently in some dark tunnels which led to a giant room that held the Kyuubi, or his mindscape as Kyuubi called it, whatever the hell that was. A summoning contract is a scroll that links the demon world to the human world. There's a whole bunch of them for each individual species. Though not all have one. You'll probably hear about toads or slugs and snakes along with dogs, though they are a minor summon. This one is for foxes. That is how you are gonna let me out of this rat hole. Just sign here with your blood, answered Kyuubi. The Jinchuriki glanced at the scroll before biting his thumb and writing his name on it. As soon as the blood hit the paper, it turned black, though traces of red were seen in it. Finishing his name, Naruto rolled up the scroll before tossing it at Kyuubi, who caught it with one of his tails. Naruto never seemed to question as to why a giant nine-tailed talking fox was inside of his mindscape for some reason, let alone why it was in a cage. Was that supposed to be a seal? Why not a collar? Deciding that it was too much thinking, he left his mindscape via a burst of chakra. Waking up, the first thing Naruto took note of was that it was a Saturday, meaning that the academy didn't have class today. That also meant that he could finally practice creating his jutsu, or at least breaking his training into steps and finding hand seals for the replacement jutsu. Near end of the final academy year, Kuso. Why can't I do it? Yelled Naruto. It was only a few days until the exams and Naruto knew that he was going to be tested. In fact, if the pattern repeated itself, he also knew what he was going to be tested on, the clone jutsu. While Naruto had practiced and practiced with making his wind clone as he dubbed it, it finally hit him that a Chunin would be able to tell the difference between the two jutsus. After all, after using the normal clone, there was always a tiny pulse of chakra that was impossible for a genin to hide. That and when was the last time you saw a solid clone pop out of thin air? Not that he could do the technique anyway, he didn't have anything solid to focus on and the clone kept fading. That is what led to him standing in the academy training ground trying to actually get the jutsu to work. Not that it would work. Watching from behind the trees was the ever-shy Hinata Hyuga. She wore a baggy cream-colored jacket with fur lining on it. She also wore the standard black cargo pants. What's up with black cargo pants? Her clan had a special bloodline limit known as the Byakugan, or all-seeing eye. It was able to see chakra, had telescopic vision, and could see through things. Combining these three things, the clan was able to do many things, from becoming a human lie detector to effectively eliminating the threat of someone using their chakra and might kill them in the process. Back to the point though, using her bloodline, she could see that her crush was using far too much chakra for the jutsu and overloading it. She wanted to help him, but her shyness made it so that if she was within 5 feet of him, all her blood would go to her face, let alone if he was paying attention to her. Even farther away in the academy itself, Iruka Amino looked out the window to see Naruto practicing. He could see Hinata hiding and always thought it was cute if somewhat annoying. He was wondering how Naruto had not noticed that said girl liked him, though that would be hypocritical as a certain snake Kunoichi watched him too, though he never noticed. Anyways, he had just finished up his work and was thinking on whether or not he should help Naruto, as the two had developed a brotherly bond over the years. Even if Iruka constantly tased him, though that had side effects that would benefit him, it was still a painful experience to be zapped like that. Deciding that he was really tired and that if Naruto still couldn't get it before the test, he would help then, he went home to a nice, relaxing, hot bath. Meanwhile, back out at the training ground, Naruto kept trying to work his jutsu mindless of the added party. After an hour or so, Hinata left to go home as her father, the clan head, would get worried and send guards out to find her lest someone steal the Hyuga bloodline. As the hours went on, Naruto gave up working that day and decided to wait till tomorrow so he could get some ramen. As the days continued on, Naruto tried and tried until he was able to get it down. Keeping his anger in check from a smart-ass comment from Kyuubi every so often was also a test of its own. Lucky for him too, as it was the day right before the exams. Uhokage-sama. Naruto was able to complete his training and is now capable of using the clone jutsu. Said the cat-masked Anbu. The Anbu was currently doing a half kneel in front of the Hokage. Nodding his head, the Hokage dismissed his agent, thinking to himself, he thought, Naruto-kun has been getting better. I am surprised that he was able to do the jutsu at all with all the chakra he has. That's a killer for control, though how he keeps disappearing off of my radar is unnerving to the least. Naruto had been dropping of the maps from periods of time for a while now, mainly because he could sense someone watching him train. Weird though how the chakra signature was always the same. Either way, no one else knows about the other reason he disappears, and he was planning to keep it that way. After all, what's the use of setting up a prank if everyone could see you setting it up? Anyways, the Hokage had been trying to keep tabs on the young demon container for a long time. So far he had only been able to see him train in his usage of chakra. His wind manipulation was always done in private. This worried the Hokage, as for someone of Kage levels to not be able to keep track of an academy student is just wrong and embarrassing. What are you up to, Naruto? Ooh, beep. Beep. Thud crack. Groaning. Naruto glanced up from his pillow which he had stuffed his face in while somehow breathing. Seeing that his alarm clock was once again broken, he groaned before rolling out of bed. Miscalculating the distance, he fell of his bed, dragging the sheets down with him. Groaning again, which was becoming very tiring, he got up and walked forwards only to trip on the blankets and bump his head on the wall. Deciding that groaning 4 times in 1 minute was not a healthy thing, he decided to scream in frustration. Luckily, nobody lived in the rooms next to him, except Kyuubi of course, but that doesn't count. 5 minutes later, he finally made it to the restroom and finishing with his business, he went to the kitchen to eat a healthy breakfast of instant ramen. Another 5 minutes later and he was in a somewhat better mood before remembering something. Today was the Genin selection exams. Immediately, he dashed out of his house, leaving a Naruto-shaped hole in his front door. 10 minutes later found him back there trying to put clothes on. The village of Konoha was not something you would expect to see for a ninja village. Unlike other villages that separated the civilian and ninja population, Konoha had the two coexisting. Everywhere you looked you would see both ninja and civilian alike going through their daily routines. Traveling through the village, Kiba was walking to the academy with his pet dog Akamaru, who was sitting inside his jacket with his head sticking out. The two were talking together, though no one could understand the dog except another member of his clan, the Inuzuka clan. As he walked on, there was a loud buzz going through the crowd. Deciding to see what was going on, he poked his way through until he saw a large crowd gathered in a circle yelling, "Death to the demon," over and over. Getting excited at the prospect of seeing a demon, he walked to the front of the crowd and watched the view. What he saw bewildered him greatly. Standing in the circle was a Chunin and the ever-infamous prankster of Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto. The Chunin made large exaggerations in his attacks to show off for the crowd, while the foxy lol boy leapt up and around the Chunin with grace as the blows were missing by mere fractions. Asking one of the civilians what was going on, the man turned to him and said, "That ninja is helping us rid this village of the demon so he doesn't become a ninja too. After that we won't be able to attack him anymore, so this is our last chance. I'll ask you one last time, let me pass, I gotta get to class or I won't be able to become a ninja," yelled Naruto. The Chunin grinned a mad smile before throwing a kunai at the blonde. Sighing, said blonde zipped through hand seals before there was a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, the Chunin who threw it was there and got hit by the kunai in the arm. Wincing, the Chunin pointed towards the dust cloud that represented Naruto, yelling, "The demon has injured the populace of the village. Kill him," before joining the other civilians and some ninja in the chase. Kiba stood there shocked and scratched his head. "Hey Akamaru, what was that?" asked Kiba. The puppy made a whine that was the equivalent of an "I dunno." He stood there trying to figure out what the hell just happened before remembering about the academy and dashed off following the crowd. "Stop following me already," yelled Naruto. The crowd proceeded to chase after him until he got mad and that trickster brain of his kicked in. Putting his hands into the ram seal, he focused on drawing out as much chakra as possible. Seeing the blue glow, the mob started chasing even faster, never paying attention to the actual amount of pure chakra being emitted by the boy. This continued for about a minute before there was a flash of blue light that enveloped Naruto. When the light died out, standing in his place was a bewildered Sasuke Uchiha. Thinking that Naruto had transformed into the Uchiha, though it was just an overpowered replacement jutsu, one of the civilians pointed to the last Uchiha and yelled, "Look! He mocks us by turning into our protector. Destroy him." That was the last thing that Sasuke experienced before unconsciousness welcomed him into their world. Later Kiba would wonder why that bloody heap of clothes looks so familiar as he passes him by on his way to the academy. Sakura was currently stalking air, following the Uchiha to school. As the black-haired boy turned a corner that led to the academy gates, there was a flash of blue light. Frantic, the Haruno sprinted around the corner to see nothing. "Sasuke, where did you go?" About an hour later, everyone was at the academy including Sasuke, who the villagers had healed and reclothed their precious Uchiha. He still had some bruises, though much to the enjoyment of Naruto, who though that the Uchiha prick was nothing but a stuck-up asshole with a 1,000-mile pull-up said hole. Kiba kept stealing glances at Naruto involuntarily with his face furrowed up in concentration, which was pretty rare as he was loud, bashful, and cocky. Hinata did the same but for different reasons altogether. Currently, the whole Sasuke fan club was currently huddled around the Uchiha worrying over his bruises. Sasuke, however, just continued his brooding while staring out the window. This continued for about a minute before Naruto had enough. The blonde boy got atop Sasuke's desk and stared at him. "I don't get what you girls see in the prick," said Naruto. The entire group started screeching something but he couldn't hear them. Then Ino Yamanaka stepped up saying, "He's cute, strong, smart, and he's the last Uchiha." Glancing at the platinum blonde girl, he turned back to stare at the boy. They stared for the longest time before the kid sitting underneath Naruto nudged Naruto on the back. Immediately from feeling the nudge, and knowing what might happen, Naruto shot out his hand and knocked the Uchiha to the left, which, coincidentally, made his face meet up with Ino's midpoint. The entire class was silent while Naruto got up and walked out the crowd. Sasuke's face was beet red. Ino stood there shocked before a sly smile crept onto her face. "I didn't know you liked it like that, Sasuke-kun." All the girls except Hinata started yelling angrily that Ino got to experience that and they didn't. The entire boys part of the class were either erupting in laughter, turning bright red, or were screaming too as they were fanboys. The last freaked everyone out, author included. This is the scene that Iruka walked in on. Though Sasuke had removed his face, he could distinctively hear the voice of Sakura screaming above the rest. Pinching his nose, he tried to fight back the headache that was coming before he initiated the jutsu that he created to help quiet classes. Immediately, a giant head yelled, "Sit down and shut up." Most of the class decided to do just that. The rest already were like Shikamaru, who was asleep. Seeing as he got the class's attention, he went on in a quieter voice saying, "Today, you all might become ninja. For those of you that pass, this will be a big step for you. For those of you that don't, you can always come back next year." Raising his hand into the air, he continued, "If you think that you cannot take this test now and want to wait for another month, raise your hand now." A few kids were edging their hands up before Naruto shot his straight up. Surprised, Iruka asked, "Naruto, you think you can't do it?" The blonde had a Cheshire grin on as he said, "It's not that. I just don't want you to feel all alone up there." The class broke into laughter once again at the joke, their fears completely forgotten. Fighting down the headache, Iruka waited for the class to quiet down before gesturing to a table behind him. On the table were 27 headbands, all gleaming and shining. Each had the symbol for Konoha on them. From then on, Iruka called the students up one by one to be led in a room to take their tests. There was a written test which, being Naruto, he failed. That was okay though, as he only failed the exam if he failed more than one test. There were 3 more. After the written exam, there was a taijutsu exam. While not being able to use the academy style due to no one wanting to teach him, he passed while throwing a punch to just barely miss while blasting air from his fist hard enough to leave a mark. Thirdly was the marksman test. Needless to say, the only person who beat him was Sasuke by 1 point. This considering that he got top quality weapons and threw from 10 feet away, while Naruto had bent, rusted, and sometimes broken weapons to throw at targets over 50 feet away. Of course, since the tests were done individually, nobody knew that. The final test was by far the one that had Naruto most worried. While he completed the clone jutsu the day before, he was afraid his nervousness might knock down his performance. After waiting in the classroom for half an hour, they called his name. Getting up, Naruto went to the room to get tested. Standing in the middle, Naruto turned to face the instructors who were, coincidentally, Iruka and Mizuki. Apparently, they let Iruka judge the last test. Iruka smiled at the appearance of the blonde and said, "Okay Naruto, all you have to do is make at least 3 clones, ready?" Naruto smirked and answered, "Maybe if I had some ramen." Iruka blinked before saying, "Just do it." Obliging, Naruto pulled his hands into the ram seal and concentrated on his chakra. "Okay, calm down. First thing is to set the limiter. Done. Now, pour chakra slow and easy. Now release." As Naruto put the finishing touches on his jutsu and was about to initiate it, Mizuki smirked. As soon as he thought that the demon brat was going to activate the clone jutsu, he activated a light genjutsu that was covered by Naruto's chakra output, the result being that his control was messed up horribly. This caused the limiter, as Naruto called it, to disrupt. There was a puff of smoke next to Naruto, and when it cleared it showed a clone that had its head backwards and standing on one leg. The other leg came out of its rear. It soon toppled over. Glancing over, Naruto paled. He had just blown his chance. Iruka's eye twitched before saying, "Naruto? You fail." Sad. Naruto dragged his feet out of the room when Mizuki interrupted. "Well, technically, he made a clone so you could still pass him." Iruka shook his head and answered, "He only made 1 clone, and even then, it was deformed." Naruto dropped his head as his hopes were dashed. Heading out to the playground, he sat down on the swing with his head downcast. Watching from afar was, guess who? That's right, it was Sasuke. Lol. You probably thought it was Hinata, huh? She is too, but that's a given. He smirked at seeing the class doby without a headband. Unexpectedly, it quickly softened. "I wonder if you would feel better if I kissed Hi. What the hell? Where did that come from?" Hinata was thinking along the same lines, though they went a lot deeper. The parents came and congratulated their children before taking them away. Mizuki decided that was when he would pull off his plan. "Hey Naruto, there's still a way for you to become a genin." Said blonde's head shot straight up. Turning to his instructor, he asked, "How?" Inside, Mizuki smirked. "Well, this is a special makeup exam for those who didn't do well the first time. It's a lot harder though. All you have to do is sneak into the Hokage's tower and retrieve the forbidden scroll of sealing." At once, Naruto caught the slip-up and pieced together his plan. This sounds like what Aoi did to that one kid a couple years ago. I'll have to check up with the Hokage. Aoi is from the arc with Idate in it. Not missing a beat, Naruto continued to play along and followed Mizuki to get all the details. Let's see, according to Gigi, I have to steal the scroll from his office to make it more realistic. Well, that should be a problem, thought Naruto. The blonde in question was currently staring at the scroll in front of him while Sarutobi lay passed out on his desk with blood trailing from his nose that covered his papers. The signed papers were covered anyway. He had fell victim to Naruto's technique. Guess which? While not planned, this made it seem more realistic, though now Naruto was wondering if being the strongest ninja in the village meant squat if a simple academy transformation could defeat him. He thought about using his wind one, but there was barely any light to bend, which made it damn near impossible. Either way, the results were effective. Picking up the scroll and strapping it to the back of his jumpsuit, he leapt out the window and headed for the forest. "Ooh, are you going to move on to the next one or not? Kami dammit Kyuubi. Shut up," yelled Naruto. The young demon container sat leaning against a tree trying to get down the jutsus he found. The first was Shadow Clone Jutsu, which was surprisingly easy. The second, however, was in Sulfur Monosulfide class Wind Jutsu. Explanation on why at the bottom. It was called the Air Chain Blade, or just the Chain Blade as Naruto called it. The idea was to use the concept behind charging a weapon with wind chakra to sharpen it, to instead make the chakra continuously circle the blade slightly like a chainsaw. The problem lay in the concentration of wind. Even the creator never perfected the technique as the wind kept peeling off. Theoretically, it was possible to be able to do it without a blade. This is the technique, not jutsu, as no hand seals are used, that he was trying to perfect. After several tries and getting nowhere, he decided to just memorize it just in case he didn't have enough time. It was just in time too, as it was then that Iruka decided to show up. Apparently, Hiruzen had sent out his shinobi to keep up appearances. Oh well, though it was unexpected, so was the nosebleed knockout. Landing. Iruka started lecturing Naruto, yelling, "Naruto, what the hell do you think you're doing? Don't you know what that scroll is?" Naruto blinked before realizing that Iruka hadn't been told about their plan. Well, that really made things harder. Naruto put on his happy face and answered, "Hee hee. Well, you caught me already. Oh well. I already learned a jutsu from the scroll, so now you have to let me become a genin, right?" "What the hell are you talking about, Naruto? That's the scroll of sealing. You could be executed for treason just for removing the scroll, let alone taking it," yelled Iruka. Naruto looked confused as he said, "But Mizuki-sensei said if I retrieve this and learn a jutsu from it, he'd pass me." "What's that supposed to mean?" thought Iruka. As soon as the thought passed through his head, a whizzing sound was heard by him. Instantly recognizing it, Iruka pushed Naruto out of the way. 5 kunai hit and pierced Iruka, pinning him to a tree. Kukakuku. It seems as if the teacher is getting a little excited for some blood. Snapping his head around, Naruto caught sight of Mizuki dropping out of a tree with 2 oversized shuriken on his back. This isn't good, nobody was supposed to get hurt, or at least anybody I cared about, thought Naruto. Turning to Mizuki, he glared at him. Unbeknownst to the Jinchuriki, his eyes were turning white with black slits, increasing the intimidation factor. When Mizuki looked into those eyes, for the first time since making his plan, he felt doubt that it would work. This thought was proven right as Naruto growled out, You did all this, for what?" Mizuki stared into Naruto's eyes unflinching as he answered, "I did all this to become Tajunin. With the jutsu in that scroll, I'll become almighty. I even have a legit reason for doing it well. When I kill the demon, everyone will praise me as I bring back its corpse to be burned, all the while holding the scroll of sealing." Naruto closed his eyes as he registered the words before he snapped them back open. The white eyes seemed to glow in the dark as he muttered, "Foolish Mizuki, you think that the Hokage would let you become a Junin for killing me? He already knows about this, yet you're so foolish as to think I am a demon. I'll humor you this one time though. I don't think it's a good idea to hurt someone precious to a demon, is it, Mizuki? Tell me, do you know what it's like to be killed? Here, let me enlighten you." The white-eyed boy vanished before Mizuki noticed that something was off. Glancing down, he figured out what it was. His entire torso was nearly gone, as were his arms. Bits and pieces of flesh lay soaking in the ground. He tried to speak, but seeing his lungs hanging out his body, he figured it wasn't that good of an idea. He stared for 3 seconds before he collapsed into his own puddle of blood. To Naruto though, it was as if time had stopped. He literally walked over to Mizuki and carved out his organs one by one. By the time, ironic, that time itself started moving again, he was found behind Mizuki with a small distortion around his hand. Iruka at that time had finished prying the kunai from his body and looked up, instantly regretting it. The sight was nasty, with chunks of red and pink hanging out of Mizuki's body. Iruka walked over to Naruto, whose eyes had turned back to their normal color. Laying a hand on Naruto, he said, "It's okay, Naruto, let's go to the hospital so I can get cleaned up. Come see me later in the hospital, I have something for you." Recap of the following week asterisk. As the week went on, Iruka had spent a couple days in the hospital as some of the kunai had nicked some important arteries. Naruto had visited every day, bringing a bowl of ramen for his teacher to make a difference compared to the hospital diet, which was by far the blandest ever. The first time Naruto had come, he found a weird purple-haired lady who wore a fishnet shirt with a skirt, no bra. Don't ask how he figured that out, over that she wore a trench coat. Anyways, she was lying in the bed with an asleep Iruka. As soon as the two saw each other, the weird woman puffed away in a small poof of smoke. Fortunately, Iruka had awoken and decided to give Naruto his headband, signifying that he had passed the exam and was now a ninja of Konoha. Needless to say, the teacher's bed was once again occupied as Naruto jumped up and hugged him half to death. Literally too, as the heart meter spiked dangerously, causing many med nin to run in and yell at the blonde. Other than that, the Hokage had gotten a report from Iruka and Naruto about the incident. They put the mission down as a B-class mission on their profiles. Since Naruto took the murder of Mizuki pretty well, they decided to leave him be. Weird, but no one asked about his white eyes. Speaking of white eyes, it turns out that blood is very hard to get out of your clothes. Naruto spent a whole day trying to get the stain out of his clothing, but in the end, he had failed. he decided to get new clothes as his orange jumpsuit was worn out and stained along with the clothes he wore when he was younger. Throwing the clothes away, Naruto went out to find a store that didn't throw him out. Luckily, he came across an old store that held just about everything a ninja could want. This is where he met a girl who went by the name of Ten. She practically picked out the clothes for him, though it had a little orange due to his insistence. He now wore a black short-sleeve skin-tight muscle shirt with a white jacket over it which he wore unzipped. The jacket was long-sleeved and had an orange and blue stripe going down each of his sleeves. Along with that, he wore white, baggy pants that had pockets dotting it. His headband was worn around his neck, letting his hair fall down. As he left the shop, he noticed that more girls were looking his way than before, and their eyes didn't hold hate but rather something else. Of course, being a shinobi meant it had to have some perks. If the material was wet, you could simply charge it with chakra and it would clean and fix itself. Something about seals or whatever. After hearing that the same seals also help the material become chakra conducting, he promised himself to look more into it for later. As the week went on, Naruto decided to pull a prank party. He was the only one invited, though Kiba and Shikamaru helped out as well. By the end of the week, the Hokage monument had been painted to look like they each had stars in their eyes as they looked up to a statue of Naruto that he somehow managed to get up there, let alone where he got it. Thus, at the end of the week, this is where we find Naruto as he wakes up and gets ready to be assigned a genin team. Ooh beep 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 thud ep beep beep beep, crackle. Starting his morning ritual of glaring at the alarm clock, he rolled out of bed and hit the floor. He laid there for a moment before getting up, getting dressed. He popped a ramen cup in the microwave and ate it before leaving for the academy. Once again noting all the stares he got, he decided to go on the rooftop to avoid them. Ha ha ha, so the little kid can't figure out why everyone keeps looking at him. Should I wait? You know why they're staring at me? I am going to sleep. Before he was able to press the matter, he heard snoring again. Stupid little fox. Arriving at the academy, Naruto walked into the classroom. As soon as he walked in and everyone saw him, all talking stopped. Walking over to the back of the room, he plopped down into the seat. A chorus of releases went around the classroom as the class, Hinata, who had been staring at Naruto, made a little eep. As Naruto sat down, right next to her. Naruto's eye was twitching as he heard all the genin trying in vain to end a genjutsu that didn't exist. Hearing the small sound that Hinata had made, he blinked before turning to said girl. Oh hi Hinata, I didn't see you there. You mind if I sit here? Asked Naruto. Hinata was imitating a rose as she replied, It's okay, and Naruto-kun. Smiling, Naruto said, thanks, before turning around to go to sleep. Unfortunately, the smile was the last straw for the blue-haired girl as she passed out with her head falling on the desk. Thinking that she had gone to sleep like him, Naruto let her be as he waited. Meanwhile, the whole class finally had stopped trying to release the genjutsu. After a while, everyone started talking again, with Naruto being a big subject of discussion, mainly among the girls only though. Sasuke had changed from staring holes through the wall to through Naruto. This act of coolness got half the girls talking about Sasuke again. Sakura glanced between Naruto and her crush before staying at Sasuke. Meh, probably Naruto trying to act cool and hot like Sasuke again. Though this is probably the closest he's ever gotten. Wonder why he's even here though. I didn't think he passed, she thought. Another 15 minutes passed before the doors opened to show Iruka walking in, seeing the blonde sitting in the back of the room asleep. Iruka smirked before going through a set of hand seals. The sound of thunder echoed through the room, effectively shutting everyone up. Waking up Naruto. Causing Naruto to yelp. Waking up Hinata. I swear, it should have blown his head clean off his shoulders, yet it only shocks him. Meh, I don't want to think about this, thought Iruka. As the class started paying attention once again, Iruka cleared his throat and spoke. Today is the day you will all be assigned your own Junin sensei and a position in a 4-man squad. From today onward, you will have to deal with many hardships, but through all this, remember that you have people to turn to. You are never alone. The power of Konoha relies on teamwork. Anyways, my job isn't to give speeches, so here are the team settings, finished Iruka. Meanwhile, a certain cat Anbu was thinking, wait, that's the exact same speech my sensei gave my class. As Iruka went on with the list of teams, Naruto was busy trying to pinpoint the location of the Anbu. He could tell it was somewhere close but couldn't figure out where. It was driving him insane. He was snapped from his thoughts as he heard, Team 7 consists of Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno. And Sasuke Uchiha. Your Junin sensei is Kakashi Hitaki. Where is that Anbu? Yes. I got the two hottest kids. Shinero. Dobi and the Banshee. Dobe's acceptable as long as he actually helps me out, but Sakura no Banshee will just get in the way, literally. Team 8 consists of Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Your Junin sensei is Kurenai Yuhi. Yada. I get Hina. Wait, why is she looking over there? En Naruto-kun. These two are acceptable. Wait, did Kiba just step on a bug? I am gonna murder yo. Never mind, just a raisin. Team 9 is still in action from last year, so Team 10 consists of Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Shoji Akamichi. Your Junin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. Why does Forehead Girl get those two? Troublesome. Munch, meet back here in an hour for your Junin sensei. You are dismissed. After a quick run to Ichiraku's ramen stand, Naruto made his way back to the academy. After getting there, he sat down in his seat next to Hinata, much to her pleasure, and waited, and waited, and waited. 2 hours later, all the teams had left with their Junin sensei except Team 7. Sasuke was glaring at the door, trying to make Kakashi pop up into thin air. Sakura was glancing in between the two boys, blushing. Last, but not least, Naruto was sitting with a kunai in hand, trying to create and maintain a chain blade, making a small, unnoticeable current throughout the room. As time went by, the two boys were about to snap when they heard footsteps. Naruto and Sasuke glanced at each other and came to an unspoken agreement. As the sound got closer to the door, Naruto and Sasuke appeared on either side of the door, one with a handful of chalk, Sasuke, and the other with a small stool, Naruto. Thud, thud, thud. As the two genin stared at the handle, it turned slowly. There was a click before the door opened up. Half an hour later found the members of Team 7 on the roof of the academy, while Kakashi was getting the taste of chalk out of his mouth and nursing his family jewels. The whole time, Sakura was staring at him and thinking, this is our sensei. Okay, let's try getting to know each other in a nonviolent way. First of all, tell me a bit about yourselves, said Kakashi. Naruto glared at him and remarked, not until you tell us why you're so late, and why you look so familiar. Kakashi winced as he answered, well, I got lost on the road of life. Sakura and Sasuke face planted while Naruto's eyes widened. Pointing a finger at Kakashi, Naruto yelled, that's where I met you, remember me? We met on the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. It's the third left turn from the Lane of Memories. The two genin whose face was planted seemed to sink even lower as Kakashi went into a thinking pose before exclaiming, I remember now. You're the kid who burnt my Icha book. Naruto yelled, TCH, you should be reading that stuff anyways. Kakashi looked mortally stricken as he said, how could you not enjoy the works of Jiraiya Dono? Naruto just grimaced and said, let's just get on with it. The Cyclops seemed to falter as he replied, huh? Oh right. My name is Kakashi Hitaki. I have many likes and many more dislike. My hobby is obvious and my dreams are rated M and up. You next, Blondie. Naruto frowned as he took his turn. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are ramen, training, and my tenant can pass if he's in a good mood. Kakashi's eyes widened as he heard this particular bit of info. Anyways, my dislikes are the 3 minutes it takes for ramen to finish, tardy people, emo people, tasers, and people who judge others before getting to know them. That, and I hate perverts. My dream for the future is to become Hokage. Nodding his head, Kakashi gestured towards Sakura. Your turn, Hubba Bubba. Confused at the reference, Sakura ignored it as she started talking. My name is Sakura Haruno. The person I like is, turns to Sasuke and giggles. My dream for the future is, stares off into space and develops a nosebleed. My dislikes are Ino Pig and anyone who tries to get in the way of true love. Slightly disturbed at the blood trickle, Sasuke took the initiative and said, my name is Sasuke Uchiha. My likes are, Pocky. My hobbies are non-existent, and my dream and desire is to kill a certain weasel. Kakashi sighed at his new team and thought, well, this is just peachy. I got a Jinchuriki who's hooked on ramen, a sexually disturbed fangirl, and an Avenger with a like for Pocky. Now that I think of it, didn't the whole Uchiha clan like Pocky? Kakashi stopped his wanderings and said, perfect, now that we're fully acquainted, meet me at Training Ground 15 tomorrow at 7. I suggest that you don't eat breakfast, you might puke. With a puff of smoke, The Junin disappeared, leaving his students to their own devices. N. Wow, completely unexpected, but I think I found a way to let Naruto make the wind clone. Here's a hint, the non-wind version is easily dispelled. If you can't figure it out, then you don't get any cookies, carrot. Anyways, this is just a description of my jutsu ranking system to explain why Naruto is not super powered. Rank, level, description D, Academy, commonly used by Academy students and Genin. C, Genin, commonly used by Genin. B, Chunin, used by Chunin but sometimes found among gifted Genin. Junin, used by Junin and some Chunin. S, Kage, special jutsu requiring Kage rank, skill, ability to learn. N, A, requirements make only select few people capable of performing the jutsu. F, N, A, forbidden for inhumane and or destructive capabilities. G, N, A, self-sacrificing attacks that boost ability for limited time before dying. Hopefully that explains some of what I am going to do. Here's a sneak peek at some of the jutsus that Naruto will use. Element, name, description under name, rank, range, type. Wind, breaking winds. B, short to mid, area variation of grade breakthrough, winds are given a cutting property. Wind, shield breaker. A, mid to long, focused, several bolts of compressed air are launched and embed into the target. Upon latching, bolts will decompress creating explosions. Wind, dragon's flight. SS, support wind envelopes the user's body and focuses around the back creating invisible protrusions into the shape of wings, can cut through objects, grants user ability to fly. Wind, chain blade. SS, close, melee wind circulates around a certain point creating a cutting, shredding ability, prolonged contact increases damage. Lightning, rail shot. BA, mid to long, piercing. User charges a metal with electricity to a melting point. Liquid is then repelled using electricity from the hand, similar to a plasma bolt. Lightning, electro pulse. CB, short to mid, support. Similar and based off of EMP and tasers, metal charged with electric set to certain frequencies is thrown at the target. Depending on the frequency, you can knock out, numb, or inflict pain on the target, usually used with kunai. Water, aqua burst. CB, area, small pockets of water are launched at high speeds over an area creating a shotgun-like effect. Short equals pierce, mid equals numb, long equals bruise. Water, earth, spiker. BA, mass assassination, user pumps their chakra into the earth, brings up water hidden in the soil. It forms the shape of a spike and is launched through, out the ground into the targets. Wind, sub-element manipulation, rank +1, support. By controlling the air to do certain things, certain effects can be added to jutsu. Static. Air rubbing together creates static enhancement. Heat. Friction caused by blowing winds gives a heat enhancement. Cold. Vacuum of air sucks heat away giving a chill enhancement. That's all for now. The list wasn't supposed to look like this, but apparently the tab button and excessive spacing doesn't work. I would like to know if it would be a good idea to add ice to Naruto's abilities as well. Naruto will be able to use lightning element attacks due to getting tased all the time, allowing him to build a slight lightning affinity. If anyone would like to use my ideas, I don't mind as long as you give credit to me in some form. Though you gotta admit, these are some pretty kick-ass ideas, especially since I thought these up during social studies. Naruto. Wake up. Aw. What's going on? I am bored. You woke me up, for that? Yes. I swear, just for that, I am going to change the mindscape back to the sewer. No. Why must you be so cruel? Oh wait, if I give you a reason for waking you up, will you still change it? Depends. The Cyclops told you to meet him for survival training, remember? Oh yeah, dragging himself the bed. Naruto turned off the alarm clock before it could ring and got dressed, eating some breakfast. He quickly threw away the ramen cups and left for the training ground. 15 minutes later found all the members of Team 7 sitting around a tree with Sasuke in the middle. He was in that position for two reasons. One being that Naruto was trying to sleep and didn't need someone trying to climb over him trying to talk to Sasuke. The second being Sakura. Enough said. Naruto had finally fallen asleep and was dreaming about flying when he hit a cloud made of ramen. Thought Naruto, on the outside, Naruto was starting to slobber when there was a poof sound that woke him from his dream. Whining, Naruto made a mental note to see if he actually could fly. Opening his eyes, Naruto heard a, "You're late," which caused him to wince in pain. Kakashi's eyes smiled and gave them a wave saying, "Sorry, walked into a wall when I got out of bed and got knocked out for half an hour." Naruto had a thoughtful look on his face before catching the end. "So what about the rest of the time?" Kakashi scratched his head and said, Overslept I guess." Before Sakura could scream, Kakashi pulled a bell out of his pouch and set it on a tree stump. Pulling out 2 small bells, he explained, "You have till noon to take these bells from me. If you don't, then you get no lunch, that and you'll be sent back to the academy." Immediately, 2 noises were heard coming from the genins' stomachs. The one coming from Sakura was a lot louder than the other as for some odd reason, she decided to skip dinner. There was a brief pause before everyone heard, "Oh yeah, he did say not to eat breakfast, huh? Oh well, better for me." Eyeing the bells, Sakura spoke up saying, "Sensei, you forgot one of the bells." Kakashi glanced down and I smiled. "Whoops, looks like one of you will automatically get sent back without lunch. Well, you only have till noon so you can start now." As soon as the words left his mouth, all 3 disappeared. Glancing around, Kakashi caught sight of both Sasuke and Sakura. It was sad, really, because the only reason why he found Sasuke from glancing was because Sakura was crawling towards him making a huge rustle. "I guess he'll have to deal with that fangirl tendency of hers," thought Kakashi. Kakashi however couldn't find Naruto. Figures too, after all, he was able to hide from the Anbu during all those pranks of his. Naruto was actually on the other side of the river that was so conveniently located a moderate distance from the others. He sat there staring at Kakashi before he held his hand out. He held it like that for a moment before closing his fist. Back with Kakashi, he had just located Naruto when his whole body was put under pressure. He pulled of a replacement with a nearby log, given to him by the Lord of the Logs. According to the Church of Log, as soon as he appeared, he glanced back at the log only to see it crushed into splinters. He didn't have any time to ponder this as Naruto appeared and started slugging around punches. The blonde stopped for a split second and that's when Kakashi took his chance. Seeing the Junin reach his hand, he jumped back and pulled out a kunai. The Cyclops seemed to hesitate in pulling out whatever for dramatic purposes before snapping out a book. Over in the bushes, Sasuke face palmed and Sakura sweat dropped. Eye twitching, Naruto pointed at his sensei with an accusing finger yelling, "What the hell, man?" Ninja Lesson 1. Taijutsu. Naruto charged at the man throwing a jab, knocking his hand down. Naruto planted his hand on the ground and started spinning which sent a barrage of kicks at the book. Kakashi ducked underneath and knocked Naruto off of his hands, skidding to a stop. The blonde glared before smirking. Seeing the smirk, Kakashi turned his one eye to Naruto and watched him. The Jinchuriki slid into a stance with his legs evenly spaced. His left arm was held sideways in front of him with his right arm taking the same position behind him. Spiral Arts Offense. Dance of the Hurricane. Staring at the blonde, Kakashi thought, "What the hell? They don't teach this kind of stuff in the academy. If this is the dead last, then Sasuke must be mid-Chunin level already." Naruto charged at Kakashi once again, but before he entered stroking distance, he started spinning around wildly with his arms flying around all over the place. Unseen to the naked eye, tiny blades of air were being thrown around Naruto as he spun. Upon feeling the first cut, Kakashi instantly pulled another replacement. After 5 seconds of spinning, Naruto finally pulled to a stop only for Kakashi to poof away to reveal a rather large pile of finely cut sawdust. Eyeing the pile, Naruto muttered, "Well, what do you know, it worked. I just didn't expect it to be that efficient." That was his mistake as Kakashi appeared behind the blonde with his hands in the tiger sign. Seeing this, Sasuke panicked. "That's the tiger seal. Shit, he's gonna kill the baka." Noticing his distress, Sakura was about to speak up when the silver-haired man said, "Konoha Hidden Taijutsu. 1,000 years of pain." His fingers shot forward into their target, Ew. Naruto's face took a pained expression as he was launched across the clearing into the river. Turning around, Kakashi put away his book and picked up a bell that had been cut off during the attack. As soon as he bent over, Sasuke thought, an opening, palming a kunai. Sasuke took aim and let loose a single knife. "You go," who had been tailing Naruto per se the Hokage's order, nearly broke her cover as the kunai sailed through the air and hit its target with a soft plop. Kakashi was knocked off his feet as a kunai inserted itself in between his cheeks only for him to poof away a second later. Sasuke dashed off thinking, damn it, now he knows where I am. Sakura, noticing him, got up and started following. Sasuke. Where are you going? She yelled. The pink head soon lost track of him and started wandering around. She kept going and nearly ran into someone. Glancing, she gasped before hiding behind a tree. Less than 10 feet away stood Kakashi. Her heart thudded in her ears as she tried to calm down. She froze when she heard him mutter, Ninja Lesson 2. Genjutsu. She experienced a slight dizzy feeling but quickly put it out when she heard, Sakura. Getting up, she had a smile on her face as she recognized Sasuke's voice, but that quickly faded. Leaning on a tree, was Sasuke. His entire body was beat up, he had kunai sticking out of random places of his body and was drenched in blood. Sakura, help me. Back with Naruto. A loud scream was heard coming from the surrounding forest. Naruto had climbed out of the water and was currently being annoyed. Why, you ask? Oh, that was because Kyuubi wouldn't shut up. Ever since he had climbed out, the fox had cracked up. Kyuubi, ha ha ha. Kyuubi, ha ha wheeze Kyuubi. Frickin' hilarious. I swear. I love this GU. Kyuubi. As the laughing continued, Naruto cut the connection and just lay on the ground letting him dry. He could feel a dull pulse come from his butt. That was just nasty and wrong. Kakashi stared at the girl and had one thought, this is the kunoichi of the year? Shaking his head, he heard another voice. I hope she won't always be like that. Glancing over, Kakashi saw Sasuke standing there with a disturbed look on his face. I will get a bell. Cocking an eye at his attitude, Kakashi asked, what makes you so much better than everyone else that you can do what they can't? Sasuke pointed at Sakura and said, personally, I think everyone is better than her. The Junin's sweat dropped and replied, true. Sasuke sighed and was about to flash through seals when a voice in the back of his head said, don't use the fireball, throw a kunai at his left side, he only has one eye after all. Kukakuku, not questioning the voice, he threw a kunai at the man. There was a tiny pause before he snatched the kunai out of midair and twirled it around his fingers. Sasuke jumped back several feet and dashed away. Kakashi started chasing him in hopes of testing his skill level. After a good 3 minutes, Sasuke turned in mid-leap and let loose several kunai, landing in a clearing. Again with the clearings. They faced off. Sasuke threw more kunai at Kakashi but they all buzzed past him. Is his aim really that bad or? He heard a tiny snap before a small salvo of shuriken were launched at him. Dodging out of the way, he was met with Sasuke's fist. Grabbing it with one hand, Kakashi made to block a kick that was coming for his face. Seeing an opening, Sasuke kneed the man in the crotch before trying to catch a bell, groaning in pain. Kakashi threw him away. As soon as Sasuke landed, he started looking around for the Junin. Again the voice spoke to him, giving him advice. Following said advice, he flashed through several seals before he started twirling on one foot. Putting his hand to his mouth, he called out, fire style. Phoenix Flame Jutsu. Scores of tiny balls of flames were shot out everywhere in rapid succession, lighting the area up in flame. Spinning to a stop, he glanced around at the calming fires. Is he left? Right? Behind. There was a tiny rumble before Sasuke ended up buried to his head in the ground with Kakashi sitting above him. Ninja Lesson 3. Ninjutsu. After rounding up the genin, Kakashi had them sit in front of the training post with Sasuke tied to one. Upon two voices asking why, he answered, he set the forest on fire. It took me and another Anbu that just happened to be here to put it out. As soon as he said this, Naruto asked, really? Which mask did he wear? Kakashi simply stared at him and replied, cat. Naruto started pouting and saying something along the lines of, it makes sense too. Yugi was the only one to be able to catch me during my pranks. No wonder I had a hard time telling where she was. Ignoring him, he asked the three, do you understand the true point of the test? Seeing the confused faces, he sighed. It was about teamwork. As you know, I am a Junin. There is no way a genin can beat a Junin. Even more, if you did get a bell, there was nothing stopping me from simply taking it back, so because of this, there is no way for you to beat me and get a bell. Seeing a flaw in his logic, Sakura asked, then why did you continue with only 2 bells? That just demotes teamwork. Kakashi tilted his head and said, the test was only made to be used with 2 bells, it's supposed to teach you to pout you comrades ahead of yourself. Seeing the genin look disappointed, he said, tell you what, I'll give you a retest later after you 2 eat, just don't let Sasuke eat. He then walked away into the surrounding forest, opening their lunches. The 2 genin started eating. Halfway through, Sakura glanced around before quickly taking a piece of rice and shoving it in Sasuke's mouth. MMPH. Just eat it. You can't be weak for the test, besides, I am on a diet. Sasuke swallowed the food and glared at Sakura. It wasn't that he wasn't hungry. It was that he was being fed by his fangirl. It was embarrassing. Meanwhile, Naruto stared at the 2 and just continued eating when Kakashi popped out of nowhere with a glare on his face. What did I say about not feeding Sasuke? Paling. Sakura replied, US said not to. The glare seemed to intensify as he asked, so why did you feed him? The girl stammered out, Ichi needs his strength for the next test. He glared at her for another 10 seconds before all the tension was drained away as he smiled and said, you pass. It took the genin a while to comprehend what he said, but when they did, Naruto blurted, huh? The goal of this exercise, after all, is teamwork. My motto is those that disregard the rules are trash, but those who disregard their comrades are lower than trash. Naruto blinked and stared at his teammates. Wait, so the only reason why we passed was because of a fangirl's need to help her crush? Kakashi tilted his head and stated, yeah actually, anyways, since you actually passed the exam, you can go home now. Meet me back here tomorrow at the same time as today. I gotta go report your success. Standing in the Hokage's office were several Junin ready to give their report. Team 1 failed, Team 2 failed. I don't think anyone failed worse. Team 3 failed. They couldn't even find me, so my team did fail worse. Oh yeah? Team 4 failed because they got in a fight with themselves. Beat this. Team 5 failed because they couldn't even find the training ground. Team 6 failed. I am not exactly sure what happened to them. Team 8 passed with flying colors, literally, apparently. Kiba decided to mark me with a really smelly paintball. Team 10 passed, poof. Team 7. Everyone had assumed that Kakashi wouldn't have had shown up and had opted to fail his team. When he actually showed up, everyone was surprised as he finished, passed but barely. The Hokage turned his head to the silver-haired man and asked, care to explain? Not taking his eyes off his small orange book of porn, he replied, like all other teams before, they failed to understand the point of the test. They did however pass the second part on a whim, so technically, they passed. Iruka, who was sitting in a desk to the side, smiled and marked down which teams passed in the file in front of him before saying, you're all dismissed. As everyone left via the window, Kakashi, the door, Asuma, or the floor, Kurenai, the Sandaime turned to Iruka and asked, you do know that Naruto's going to milk you for all the ramen he can get under the pretense of him celebrating his graduation, right? Iruka sighed, though he still had a smile on his face. Yeah, but that's part of what makes him. Early the next day found all 3 of the genin sleeping in a pile leaning against a tree while they waited for Kakashi. As soon as Naruto got there, he lay down and took a nap. After an hour, it became apparent that their sensei was going to be late again, so Sakura went next to Naruto and copied him. Sasuke, not wanting to be caught, waited until they were all asleep before mimicking his teammates. The scene that greeted Kakashi when he arrived was amusing and disturbing to say the least. The 3 genin were lying on the ground with Sasuke in the middle. Sakura had her legs wrapped around one of Sasuke's with her head resting on his chest. Sasuke had an arm wrapped around both his teammates while Naruto looked like he was having a nightmare to get away. Kakashi was slightly amused, though his face turned a little green. Kakashi made several hand seals and leaned close to their ears, amplifier jutsu. The results were instant. Wake up! The genin bolted upright, completely untangled from each other, smiling at his work. Kakashi gave them a few minutes for their and was trying hearing to fix itself. Good morning, team. Today we're going to do out first mission. So are we going to save a princess? Are we going to be bodyguards for the daimyo? Are we going to fight off missing nin? How about Fi? Be quiet, we're in the presence of the Hokage, scolded Sakura. Hiruzen leaned back in his chair and chuckled with a mysterious glint in his eyes as he said, actually Naruto, I do have a mission from someone important for you. Sakura paused in her strangling of Naruto when she heard this and cocked an eyebrow to the old man. This mission is actually from the daimyo's wife herself, taunted Hiruzen, holding out a scroll. He motioned for Kakashi to take it, which he did. He opened the scroll and stared at it with his one eye darting back and forth across the page. Suddenly, Kakashi threw the scroll into the air and incinerated it, leaving no trace the scroll had existed. Alarmed at the action, Naruto yelled, "What the hell did you do that for?" Kakashi said, "It's standard protocol for when you get a high-level mission, that way, you can prevent the contents of the mission from falling into the wrong hands." Sakura nervously asked, "So that's going to be a dangerous mission?" Even Sasuke stared intently at him, awaiting the answer. "It was dangerous when I did it, though I am not sure the old tiger is still a monster." What's going to happen next? Who the hell cares? What's the mission? Why the hell am I asking you? Only God knows. Find out in the next episode of Naruman Sinnoh League. Sykes. Just kidding, on with the story. God, I've always wanted to do that, don't kill me. As the group walked out of the tower, Sasuke took initiative and asked, "So what's our objective?" Turning around, Kakashi answered, "Our goal is to locate down a demon cat. The cat has red fur on its left ear. There is a tiny pink ribbon that has been placed there for identification purposes. It'll be hard to track down though because it's only about a foot tall." Kakashi watched as his student's face paled at the description. Oh, how fun it was to mess with them. Now to add the icing to the cake. "Just a warning, but even though I don't usually use this kind of language, that cat has the motherfucking sharpest nails on earth. They will hurt if you get cut. There might be acid on its claws. It's rumored that it's a direct descendant of the two-tailed cat, Nibby." Digging in his pouch, he came across 3 headsets. Handing them one each, he said, "Put them on. Your task is to split up and search for the demon. Do not engage the target. Once you find it, radio for everyone else. Understand?" With a collective hi, they all split up. There was a tiny buzz before. "Team, this is Kakashi. Has anyone found sign of the target?" His question was met with silence before they radioed in one by one. "This is Sakura. That's a negative. There's no sign of the target. Geez, it's hot out here." "This is Sasuke. Reporting a negative. Target seems to not be in the village." Everyone waited for Naruto's response. They waited like that for about a minute before Kakashi grew frustrated. "Naruto, have you seen the target?" There was another silence. Kakashi was fed up and was about to yell through the set before. "Maida. YDAY. I reap. Target is host. Is hostile. Questing backup immediate." There was a slight pause as they tried to piece the message together through the static before Kakashi yelled, "State your position." 3 miles, North Gate, team, move out. 10 minutes later. The 3 people found Naruto lying in a crater, or at least what they thought was him. This was the case as his entire outfit was sported with cuts. His once white jacket was now a crimson mess. The entire area surrounding him was filled with other craters and overturned dirt. The clearing looked like it had been through a war field. Again with the clearings. Nearby trees were ripped from their roots and scorch marks decorated the ground. There were a few animals caught in the crossfire as well as you could see chunks of flesh everywhere. Well, hopefully they belonged to the animals and not Naruto. Sakura gasped and ran over to the boy, fearing the worst when they heard a low groan come from him. Sighing in relief, she stopped in her tracks as Kakashi moved over to him, poking him awake. Naruto sat up and cringed in pain. After looking around confused, he glared at them and yelled, "It took you long enough. We just failed the mission." The whole team had a confused look on their faces before they asked the question on everyone's mind. "How?" Naruto winced in pain before he retold what happened. Flashback: as soon as he was told to split, Naruto dashed like a mad bullet around the village. He didn't even last 5 minutes before he got tired. Not a good idea. Kyuubi chose that moment to give his input, saying, "Why don't you try making some shadow clones?" Naruto pondered this before thinking, and forming over 200 clones, with a large poof, they all came to existence. Looking over his small army, Naruto ordered, "You all know what you're here for. When you find the target, come tell me. Now split." A chorus of "K-Boss" rang out through the crowd before the army dispersed into the surrounding area. The search went on for hours with places like forests, markets, houses, alleys, trash cans, trees, and random people's hats being searched. It wasn't the most progressive thing he had ever done. Just as Naruto was about to create another batch of clones, he faltered in his step. There was a brief flash of information that crossed his mind before he looked up confused. After sorting out the things he saw and heard, he gathered. That was one of his clone's memories. He could receive the memories of a clone after it was dispelled. Huh, I didn't know it was even possible to bend that way, thought Naruto as he sifted through the memories. Apparently, one of his clones had spotted the cat but tripped and broke its arm. It bled to death before it dispelled. Well, at least now I know where the cat is. 5 minutes later, he was hiding in some bushes a fair distance away from Konoha. He was staring at the cat trying to figure out where it was going. After several minutes, he concluded that the cat was anything but stupid. It was trying to reach the border to Kumogakure, deciding to take the nice approach. Naruto stepped out in the middle of its path and stretched out his arms. Kakashi must have been kidding. The cat doesn't look all that bad, looks pretty normal really. Aw, he's so cute, I could just cud. That train of thought ended when he saw Tora unsheathing his claws. Flashback. And that's what happened. Now he's all the way over in Kumo, and from what I actually paid attention to in class, I don't think we're on friendly terms with them right now. Kakashi stared in disbelief before saying, I told you not to engage the target alone and to call for backup. I just wonder how Sarutobi's going to handle this. Ooh, so let me get this straight. You 4 failed a D-rank mission to retrieve a lost pet? Frankly, I find this hard to believe. The team in question was standing in front of the Hokage. Being lectured wasn't fun, but being lectured on how you failed the lowest of the low type of missions that were considered chores, now that was a new time low. Sarutobi pinched his nose as a thought came to mind. Well, I can't exactly blame them. This is Tora we're talking about here. When my team took that mission, we found the cat nearly drowning all the way in Whirlpool Country. They don't call it that for misgivings after all. There were hundreds of whirlpools. Sighing, Sarutobi made a motion with his hand and said, Shoo, go home now. As the team left, though Naruto's eye was twitching at being dismissed like that, only one thought came to his mind. Oh, the bloody paperwork that he'll have to do because of this. Meet the prankster king and queen of Konoha. After another day of D-rank missions, Naruto had all the time in the world. He also had nothing to do but train. In other words, he could only try to build off of skills that he didn't have a base for, due to the academy and Kakashi not really teaching much. Anyone with half a brain and a beating heart would know he was bored. Boredom plus Naruto was a deadly combination. This was testified time and time again as Naruto snuck into a library via transformation and read up on a book, not just any book. Oh no, it was on explosives. Meanwhile, in the Anbu base, a chill went through the air and everyone froze what they were doing. Nobody was sure why, but for some reason, a singular thought was running through the agents' minds. We're fucked. Let's see here. How to blow up a building. No, how to make your own explosives. I already know how. How to make a bomb. Seals and water. Now this looks interesting. First things first, what the hell is a seal? These were the thoughts of an old man sitting in a corner of the library. A small giggle or maniacal laugh would escape the figure periodically, effectively creeping out the other guests in proximity. In the corner, the elderly corpse glanced around the room to make sure nobody was watching him. Satisfied, he went back to his reading, writing notes on a small pad of paper next to him. He wrote down more notes while flipping the pages for several minutes. Chapter after chapter flew by, and soon enough, he had taken some notes on everything he didn't already know. He already knew some of it due to being able to grab one as a kid, hence why all the Anbu were now wary of his pranks. He was also able to learn some on his own. Snapping the book close, he put it back on the shelf and left the library with his notepad. As soon as the door opened, he found it to already be night time. Damn. Time passes fast when you're plotting the destruction of a group of elite ninjas' pride. With that thought in mind, the man was covered in a veil of smoke. Clearing away, it revealed Naruto as he rushed home to try out his new ideas and grab his wallet. With his wallet in hand, the first place on his checklist was Ichiraku's. The mere thought of the heavenly delicacy made his mouth start to water. Swallowing, Naruto made a mad dash down the road. Not even a minute later, an orange blur was found occupying a seat at said stand, startling many customers. Oi-ji-san. 1 deluxe beef, yelled Naruto, already on it. Ya little energizer bunny. Ayame. Start the water would ya? As the sounds of cooking continued, Naruto finally caught what Tucci had said. Oi, what the hell's an energizer bunny? A grin broke across the old man's face as he replied, "The bunny that keeps going and going and going and going and going and going and going in." "Okay already, I get it already, going and going and going and going, and did I mention going?" Naruto threw a pout his way which made the old man laugh. A giggle came from the blonde's left, drawing his attention. Naruto's eyes fell on a girl with light red, almost pink eyes and shoulder-length dark scarlet hair that spiked out at the back as it fell down. The girl looked to be around his age and wore black pants that were tied off at the bottom with white bandages. She wore a red, long-sleeved shirt that looked like it was silky. The sleeves in particular were baggy, allowing for freedom of movement. The blonde's eyes sparkled as he said, "Oh, hi, I didn't notice you there. My name's Naruto, what's yours?" The girl in question cocked an eyebrow and replied, "The name's Miku." Naruto smiled a bit as he said, "You know, I've never seen you here before." The newly named Miku smiled back and replied, "Well, I just moved here from Snow Country, so this is actually my first time." "Really? What's it like there?" As the two grew more comfortable, their conversation grew more. The two kept on throwing topics across the proverbial table until a small thud hit the counter in front of them. All conversation between the two came to a ceasefire as they turned their heads and met two steaming bowls of ramen. Itadakamasu. The bowls didn't stand a chance. Now, throughout the entirety of Naruto's life, from his birth and all the way up to the present moment, nobody could match Naruto when eating ramen. Nobody except for Shuza Akamichi, that was. So it was with understandable surprise that Tucci looked down at the two as they ate. Naruto was eating at his normal pace, inhaling, while Miku was surprisingly matching him. The other customers stared with blatant disbelief when the two caught eye and, apparently they started to race to see who could eat more. Now you not only have the world's fastest ramen inhaler being matched, there was now someone who could even make him eat even faster. Ayame stared at the two opposing forces with a look that clearly said, "WTF?" while Tucci was bowing down at the two's feet with money in his eyes. From that day on, and on to the future, this legendary feat would have many a medic thinking, "This defies all laws of physics." Course, as our favorite blonde would say, "I never really studied physics, so huh?" 5 minutes later found Naruto patting a small bulge in his stomach while Miku just sighed in content. Amazingly, there was no sign indicating that she had just tied in a ramen race with Naruto. Naruto grinned cheekily and exclaimed, "Yes. Someone who understands the wonders of ramen. I thought our kind was going extinct." Miku nodded with a little giggle while the customers around the two were gawking. They went oblivious to the stares as they continued to talk. Eventually, being the knucklehead he is, Naruto accidentally let slip an important fact. "What do you usually do when you're bored?" "Well, I do a lot of stuff. I train. I eat ramen. I go hang around with my friends. I prank people for the hell of it. Wait, what? You prank too?" And that boys and girls started the creation of the very first Prankster Day, which would later become a worldwide holiday as time went on, starting with Konoha. August 8th was the dawn of a day that people, regardless of occupation, from civilians to shinobi, would make people run and hide. The first sign that anything was wrong was not noticed till exactly 9:30, in the middle of the day, when everyone was working. Everyone got the living $% scared out of them. In hindsight, you couldn't really blame anyone. After all, what would you do if millions of man-sized purple things start popping out of nowhere and try to hug you while screaming out proposals of love in the form of a song? In fact, the only people who didn't panic were the people who didn't recognize the identity of the form until it was too late. "Ah. I thought I left Barney back in the nursery. Why? Why is that Cammy damned thing still following me?" Similar screams were sounded throughout the village as more of the purple menaces appeared from thin air. The next big thing happened exactly an hour later, with all the purple dinosaurs having been defeated by a hysterical Hokage who still had nightmares about the character. Just when everyone thought it was calm again, two things happened, the first being any straight or perverted mon's greatest nightmare. No matter where they were, a slight dizzying feeling went through the males in the village before several hundred puking sounds were made. What happened was a genjutsu that basically allowed you to see through another person's clothes. With a few tweaks, it was made to affect only men and only work on men. The second thing, another genjutsu that made everyone look like old saggy men with baggy skin everywhere. Several super perverts were rolled to the hospital with cases of extreme mental trauma. The rest of the people went to the hospital after involuntary glancing in the direction of two shouts of "youth." Apparently, the dynamic duo decided to run straight through town that day. With most of the male populace out of action, excluding gays and for some odd reason, Sasuke, the morale of the village was severely damaged. The entire day went on like this, prank after prank after prank, with no stop in sight. There was one where the whole village exploded in a bright flash only to be covered in a neon orange substance. Ah! The wonders of francium. Needless to say, lots of people tried desperately to cover their eyes to block out the reflective light. Another consisted of ramen noodles falling from the sky like rain. It was an amusing sight to watch the entire Akamichi clan run out with huge bowls and pots while hanging their mouths wide open. It was not so funny for those noodles to instantly turn into jalapeno death peppers upon contact with saliva. During that hour, the fire country lived up to its element as people quickly learned how to breathe fire. What most people had not noticed was that these random events were mostly genjutsu. By the time that people had noticed, the type had changed from illusions to reality. In the middle of the day while everyone was cleaning up the mess, hundreds of tiny pellets fell from the sky. The pellets had started disintegrating in midair and had turned into a huge cloud of red and orange smoke well before they hit the ground. A huge wind then decided to barge into the clouds and guide them straight to the Hokage Tower. Seeing the rather harmless gas, nobody did anything to stop it. Unfortunately, upon colliding with the tower, the gases seemed to get absorbed into the walls. Once the panic had ended, everyone noticed a picture of the Yondaime peeking around the tower as if it were a corner. On the other side, there was a painting of the Sandame reading a small orange book. The male population of the village found another reason to respect the Hokage while their countergender was simply appalled. Needless to say, the Hokage was not happy about seeing the image. While it was true that Minato had once peeked over his shoulder and saw his masculine book, that didn't exactly help out his image around the village. The next few hours passed peacefully until around 9:45 at night. A loud boom was sounded right outside the village. This captured the attention of everyone as every eye in the village swerved to look at the source. A small black object was flying into the sky. Nobody was able to ponder longer as that was when the prank happened. It is commonly known that with a bright enough light, you could potentially blind someone. With every eye on the object, the torpedo reached the climax of its climb before promptly bursting in a mini-nova of light. Light spread everywhere and lit up the world as if a small sun had appeared, making it high noon. The flash lasted for about 5 seconds before it died out. To this day, people in Iwagakure still claim that the sun god had descended into Konoha. Mass confusion broke out as people screamed and gripped their heads while walking around with their arms out wide in front of them. Some men took this chance to try to reach out to the spot they last saw a hot girl so they could get a good ass grope. 75% of those men had groped others of their gender and would never know of it as the blindness lasted a whole hour. The rest of the men were the ones who got groped, several times, in numerous places. Yes, that place too. As the first people to regain their sight started helping out others, they all discovered the secondary purpose of the prank. The entire village was covered in glow-in-the-dark paint. Combine that with 5 seconds from a mini-nova and it might as well have still been daytime. All of that orange was simply blinding. As the day ended, 2 small figures were seen sitting on the Hokage monument. There was a strange sound coming from the pair that sounded like laughter. Indeed, the two were laughing as it was them who had set up the entire day of pranks, except for the glow-in-the-dark paint. That was just a side effect of one of their earlier pranks. That was ha 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 priceless. I ha 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 no, ha 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 ha, I haven't seen a prank like that in ages. As the 2 figures, plus Demon, continued to roll around clutching at their guts, they eventually had to calm down, though it was well over an hour that they finally did. While setting up the pranks, Naruto had dismissed his friend's uncanny ability with illusions, but now that he had time to think about it, he was getting curious. Say, Miku, how did you manage all those genjutsu anyway? I didn't know you were a ninja? Miku's face darkened considerably for a split second before she answered, I am just good like that. I am not a ninja though. Naruto had caught the look, but it was gone so fast, he wasn't sure whether it was imagined or not. That's pretty cool, if you can do that and you're not even a ninja. I wonder what you would be like if you were a ninja? Miku played with the idea for a while before saying, well, my parents were ninja, so I had basic academy training growing up. I learned most of my genjutsu from them. I could probably ask the Hokage to see if I can become a ninja. While the statement about her parents sounded genuine, Naruto had years of experience and detected a small lie but put it off. If she wants to keep secrets, then fine by me. Well, How did you manage to move that cloud over to the tower? I didn't think there was a jutsu that could do that. Naruto's smile faltered as he considered telling his new friend his secret but threw it out the window the moment the notion entered his head. He cracked a goofy smile and repeated, I am just good like that. They kept talking for a while until it was time for them to leave. Miku brought up the subject about her becoming a ninja again and they arranged to meet each other the next day to talk with the Sandame. The next day, the two pranksters met up at Ichiraku's for some lunch and made their way to the tower. All was going fine until they met two Anbu blocking their way. Uzumaki-san. Danzo-sama requests your presence. The blonde scratched his head and wondered, Danzo? Why does that name sound so familiar? Meh, if I don't remember, it's probably not that important. Outwardly, he said. Why? The Anbu on the left replied, that is not your place to ask. Why? Because he is a very important person. Why? He is a master of guerrilla warfare and had helped Konoha on many occasions. Why? Danzo-sama is loyal to the village. Why? Why do you keep asking so many infuriating questions? What's infuriating mean? It means something that makes someone else angry. Oh, why? Are you going to keep asking questions? Do you want me to? No, why? Because, shoot, why are we here again? I don't remember. Meh, let's get out of here. This blonde is infuriating. What does infuriating mean? And so, the two root members left the Jinchuriki and his friend alone. Where were we going again? We were going to go to the Hokage to talk about me becoming a ninja. Naruto's face lit up in remembrance while Miku stood off to the side looking annoyed. The blonde grabbed her hand and started running. Well, what are we waiting for? Miku winced and yelled, wait. Let go of my hand. It's going to snap. Meanwhile, two figures landed in front of an old man. The old man was a cripple, his left arm in a sling and bandages covering his right eye. He also had a cane to his right, though whether or not he needed it was unsure. The man then spoke, have you completed your assignment? The two figures paused before the one on the right spoke saying, Hi, Danzo-sama. Danzo smiled briefly and let out a chuckle. Now, if only I could remember what I sent those two to do. Meh, if I don't remember, then it probably wasn't very important. Please Kami-sama. Please give me a distraction from this cursed paperwork. Well, since he asked nicely, Buzz, Sandame-sama, you have a visitor. The old professor barely even got to thank Kami, me, before a bullet shot through his door and stopped in front of his desk. Gigi, meet my new friend. Once the wind had died down, it revealed the white-clothed blonde with a red pink-eyed girl wearing all sorts of red. Oh hi Naruto, what's her name? The crimson girl stepped up and answered, my name is Miku. The Hokage let out a short laugh and replied, well, the name certainly matches. Miku means a beautiful crimson color. Miku blushed a light pink, making the Hokage laugh even more, though Naruto sat to the side clueless. Once the laughter died down, Naruto said, the other day, we were talking about her becoming a ninja, so can she? The Hokage took one glance at her and remarked, she's a bit old to be starting the academy now, don't you think? Miku got a twitch mark on her forehead and yelled, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Nothing. That's what I thought. Anyways, my parents were shinobi and already taught me a bit of the academy's stuff and I know a lot of genjutsu. The Hokage arched an eyebrow and asked, such as, I'd rather not say, but my signature technique is called chakra lock. It's a genjutsu I made which makes it so that any shinobi won't be able to feel their chakra, so they can't cast jutsu or dispel any genjutsu. If I remember right, they won't be able to use taijutsu either since everything is enhanced or cushioned by chakra. Hiruzen had one thought going through his mind, peeved, whatever, nobody is that strong. Outwardly, he gave a kind smile and said, could you give me a demonstration? No more was said as tiny wisps of white-blue chakra flaked off of Mika's hands as she went through several hand seals. Halfway through, Naruto heard, I know that chakra anywhere. Wonder how she ended up like this though. What the hell are you talking about, Kyuubi? Nothing. The conversation between Container and Contained stopped when Miku finished her seals and her hands shot towards the Hokage. Chakra lock. At first nothing seemed to happen. They waited some more. So what exactly am I supposed to feel? Miku just stood there and deadpanned. Have you tried to feel your chakra? Sarutobi sat back in his chair and closed his eyes in concentration. After a minute or two, he said. What do you know, it actually worked. Glancing at the two teens, their expressions clearly said, duh. After a few minutes, they finally agreed to have 1 month for Miku to catch up on the things she didn't know before she was to become a genin. Before they were able to leave though, Hiruzen stopped them. You don't happen to know who was behind those pranks yesterday, do you? The two pranksters didn't even glance at each other as Naruto spoke. Gigi. I know I prank people a lot, but my main focus are the Anbu and I rarely ever target civilians without a good reason. The Hokage didn't believe him for 1 second but let him off the hook and said, oh well, don't get into any more trouble. Naruto. Sighed the great demon from his cage. Yes? Asked the ever-so-oblivious blonde as he continued on with his work. The kitsune had a twitch that was slowly growing in intensity on his left eye and it didn't seem to be getting close to stopping anytime soon. The fox was about to say something before a screeching voice yelled, Naruto. You're not supposed to cut the herbs. The boy in question blinked and looked around himself. But Sakura no bonjour, I mean Sakura, what's the difference between grass and herbs? They both grow from the ground and they're green. Exclaimed the Jinchuriki. On the other side of the field sat Sasuke as he pushed the lawn mower across the field. He pointedly ignored the sounds of a Naruto massacre coming from the other side as Sakura had managed to get her hands on the boy. The scarecrow, I mean Kakashi, sat in a tree reading his book while giggling every so often. Strangely, Sasuke had the feeling that the Junin actually didn't hear the noises of, ow, goddamn it woman, what the hell do your parents feed you? You hit like a ow, quit it. Sasuke turned to the scene and glared at Sakura while thinking, yeah Sakura, get off of Naruto-kun. Only I am allowed tea, what the hell? What was I thinking? I am nor gay. The author doesn't believe so. After several minutes, Sakura walked away from the pile of flesh previously known as Uzumaki Naruto. Even as the airhead was walking away from the unfortunate container, Naruto's body was busy healing itself while Kyuubi said, I tried to tell you, Kit. The pile of flesh twitched as it snorted, accidentally causing blood to fly up his nostrils, and a fat load of help that did Q, complained the blonde. Ooh, Naruto? Shut up, for the last time, it was an accident. Accident? My ass. You fucking lit me on fire, during a spar. A frickin' spar. Sasuke scratched the back of his head sheepishly at the bandaged blonde in front of him as Kakashi snapped at the mummy wannabe. I mean Naruto, Naruto, watch your language. Naruto raised his hand in protest but winced in pain as his burnt arm sent a shock through his nerves. The young windbender, lols, settled for yelling and said, make me. An evil gleam appeared in Kakashi's eye as he said, Wheel, I just happened to be thinking about giving our team a C-rank mission, but since you're being so bad. Sasuke promptly reached over and slammed his hand on the blonde's back, bringing a cry of pain from the burn victim, making the Jinchuriki crumble onto the bed. Hell be good, said the Uchiha, letting the else hang in the air. At this motion, Sakura grew hearts in her eyes and stared at Sasuke thinking, so cool. Kakashi's eyes smiled though he internally winced, that had to hurt. Meanwhile, the pain-delirious blonde lay on the bed. Ooh, so that's the secret to Grandma's cookies. The two Genin and Junin stared at their teammate and sweat dropped. I think we broke him, was thought by all of them, except for Kakashi, who then added, I guess it's too late for a refund. Ooh, Naruto laid on the hospital bed pouting. Why, you ask? Well, let's take a look at his thoughts, shall we? What's that? You're scared for your sanity? Oh please. Who cares about a few 100,000 brain cells which are essential for life and keep your heart beating? Never mind, just forget that. I don't care if he promised us a C-rank mission, all the other teams already got one. For Kami's sake, who the hell makes people do 137 D-rank missions before deciding that their team might be adequate enough for them to consider giving them a harder mission? No one, that's who. The kitsune sighed as he was forced to endure the endless rant. You do realize a part of the reason is because you keep messing up during the missions, right? The Jinchuriki scowled and said, so, what if I accidentally set a house on fire? I didn't know the house was covered in flammable material. What about when, and so what if I neutered the wrong dog? They all look the same to me. Okay. Now how about that time when I don't regret turning that fish into sushi, it had it coming. So that's why we haven't done any C-rank missions. Glad you understand, Kit. The blonde's scowl deepened as he said, I hate it when you make me see the fairness in everything. He could feel the fox inside of the seal give the equivalent of a smug smirk. Naruto flopped down on his bed and stared at the ceiling, trying to make time go faster so he could be released from the hospital. Unknown to most, if not all, people, there was a reason why Naruto had so much energy. The seal containing the Kyuubi was designed to let a minute amount of its chakra to flow into Naruto after purifying it. Problem is, the seal was created with adults, or at the very least of a 16-year-old in mind. Because of this, Naruto's coils were being overloaded with chakra and were forced to expand. Naruto was supercharged with energy at all time, and perhaps the most important part, made it so that Naruto had so much energy that he couldn't sleep. This was the reason why Naruto was always found training or doing some other obscene activity. He enjoyed the feeling of rest it gave him. This particular bit was borrowed from a story called Uprooted. Add all these facts together and it shouldn't be too much of a surprise when Naruto suddenly got out of bed and glanced at the window and the door. Putting an ear to the door, he listened for any evidence of footsteps for several minutes. Satisfied, he gave his arm a shake to make sure there was no more damage before walking over to the window and pulling it open. As the cool night air hit Naruto's face, he took in a deep breath and felt invigorated. "Hey Q, do you think we can go practice that new jutsu? I am bored, you're bored, so why the hell not?" A grin graced his face as he stepped onto the windowsill and prepared to leap out into the evening air. "Ooh, knock knock knock. Hello? Naruto, are you in there?" asked a feminine voice. After several seconds, the door opened, revealing a red-headed girl with pink eyes. Said eyes scanned the room and found the bed to be empty. She walked into the room and glanced around. I guess I got the wrong room." Miku turned around and exited the door, and almost walked into a blue-haired girl. Both of the girls stumbled back a little before regaining their balance. The redhead scratched the back of her head sheepishly, saying, "Sorry about that. I probably should be paying more attention next time. Anyways, my name's Miku, nice to meet you." The dark blue-haired girl blushed a little in embarrassment and stuttered, "It's okay. My name is Hinata." Miku adopted a thoughtful expression on her face and put her hand on her chin. Hinata. Sounds familiar." Hinata stood in front of Miku, awkwardly waiting for the pink-eyed girl to remember whatever it was. Miku suddenly snapped her fingers as a happy expression crossed her face. "I remember now, you're one of the girls from Naruto's class." Hinata's eyes widened in surprise as she said, What?" Before anything else could be done, Miku continued asking, "Were you about to visit Naruto too?" "Well, you're here so of course you came to visit him. Anyways, I was just in there but he wasn't there. Do you know where he is?" Slightly taken aback at the sudden question, Hinata shook her head no and watched Miku's head droop a little before it brightened back up. "Oh well, I guess I can talk to you. If you're really as nice as Naruto says, then we'll be friends real quick," said Miku with a large smile on her face. Hinata's eyes managed to widen even more as a dangerous blush formed on her face. "En Naruto-kun ss said I was nice?" Miku smiled happily with her eyes closed and exclaimed, "Yup." And then she was forced to catch the unconscious form of the Hyuga heiress as it fell on her. What did I do? Ah, how adorable. Think I exaggerated that too much? Early the next day, Kakashi went to Training Ground 7, making up a number, to talk a bit with his fallen friend at the memorial stone. It was about an hour before when he told his team to wait for him at the bridge, making it 6 o'clock. As Kakashi walked down the street reading his novel, several villagers were walking about setting up stands or doing some other type of business, while shinobi were traveling across the roofs leaving the village for whatever mission they had happened to pick up for that day. Thankfully, or not, as the Junin didn't particularly care. Nobody paid him any attention and thus, no women were glaring at him for his reading choice in public. As he giggled once more, he glanced up to find himself already at his destination and tucked away his book into his kunai pouch, which also contains several special editions of Icha Icha Paradise along with his kunai and exploding tags. I am going to have to exploit that later on in the story. He walked in silence towards the blue-green monument that was on the side of the field when he heard a snap. Starting to pay attention, he looked around himself and the ground to find one of the most peculiar things. Littering the training ground was an assortment of wooden chips. All the sizes were varying, from small chips that looked similar to ones found in the playground all the way up to chunks the size of his arm. Honestly, how he had missed this as he walked through the training ground was beyond him. He was supposed to be a Junin, goddammit. As Kakashi let his natural senses stretch out, he turned his head to a particular spot several yards away that had a lot of residual chakra hanging around. Pulling a kunai out from his pouch, he carefully approached the area. Now, Kakashi could claim to have seen a lot of strange things in his life, but this one came pretty close to the top. Lying on the ground was a familiar blonde and white figure. That wasn't the strange part. The strange part was that where Naruto was lying, there were several tree stumps in the ground, bits of tree everywhere. It looked as if something had blown the tree up at several points. Kakashi glanced at Naruto sleeping on the ground and thought, what was he working on that he could destroy several trees like that? The silver-haired Junin slipped the kunai back into its holster and picked the blonde off of the ground while wiping mulch off of his student. He glanced back towards the monument and whispered, "Sorry Obito. I have business to attend to, I'll talk to you later." With this last comment, he turned around and headed off to Naruto's apartment to drop him off in a bed. After all, he had just got lit on fire by Sasuke the day before, and no matter how fast he healed, there was no way he was completely recovered, with or without the Kyuubi. Thanks for watching.